Here are 5 board games that we played recently and what I thought of them. Alright everyone, welcome back to After Evenfall. This segment we are going to start calling Board Game Bites, and that's where I break down 5 board games that we've been playing and what I think of them and how I feel about them and present them to you guys. So board game 1 has been pretty anticipated. I'm going to get right into it, and that is Ark Nova, designed by Matthias Wig and produced by Capstone Games. So I just informed everyone last week that this game was on my shelf of shame, but I'm excited to say that thanks to some great members on BGA, I've been able to get around to playing it. So in Ark Nova, you are building a zoo, you are gaining sponsors, you are adding universities that you're partnering with other zoos around the world. And this is a card drafting tableau building game with a hint of worker placement. So in this game, you have your little board below you, and then you have 5 cards below that board. And the cards, as you play them, they move over to the leftmost space, and the leftmost space is the weakest space that the cards can have. And then the rest of the cards shift right, slowly gaining abilities and power as they move over. That you can also flip the cards to get extra abilities with them. So one card will say like, oh, you can build. So I'll play the build card, I'll switch it over here, and then the rest of the cards will slide over, and now I've used that card, and I'll put my little tile on the board. Then another card might say that you can put animals in that tile. So those are 2 separate actions. And then I would take that action, I'd put the animal there, flip it over in a separate turn. There's also a section of the board up at the top where you are placing your workers to partner with those zoos or to gain the benefit of the universities, putting them down in your tableau. And then there's a card drafting card that allows you to take some of maybe the animal cards or the sponsor cards off the top of the drafting table, and you can add those down into your hand as well. So I will say that my opinion on the cover not matching the game still stands. I still think this is not what the game looks like. I still don't like the board that you draft cards off of. I still think that it could use some, for lack of a better word, aesthetic appeal. And that all still stands. Now that being said, I really liked the game. I thought it was really fun. There are a ton of options available on your turn, like a ton. I mean, from placing your workers, drafting cards, putting out buildings, putting out little tiles that you can flip over and put your animals on. Like, there's just so much going on, and there are a million different ways that you could score points, it feels like. There are just so many. And it's a really fun game overall. I really liked it a lot. I will not say that it knocked down any of my top 10 games. It did not. I still have my top 10, but I did really enjoy this one despite that. It is pretty difficult to learn initially. So we like to learn a lot of our games through videos on YouTube. Shout out to Rodney Smith. He's my man. He's pretty much a household name here. And he doesn't have a video on this, that aside, but the videos on how to learn how to play this game are so long and so complicated, and I feel like those could be broken down a little bit better, the rules could be. There are still some things that I'm a little shaky on. There are some points that I'm not quite sure how to total up, but at the same time, it is a really fun game. And aesthetically speaking, the more I played the game, the more I liked the animal cards. I really liked your board down at the bottom. I have an addiction to like completing sets or filling things out all the way. I love for things to be like done. So I just wanted to build out my whole entire zoo. I wanted to cram it full and put something on every little spot, and I liked that this satisfied that love for me. I gave the game 5 stars. I did, because I think it's a really good game, and I would highly recommend it for anyone who's more interested in a heavier weight medium game, or a heavier medium weight game. At the same time, a little part of me wants to knock down just a half star just because it is so difficult to teach. I would not want to bring this to my board game table if I'm playing with new people every game, because it's going to be a lot of teaching, and that can get kind of monotonous. But at the same time, if you can find a table of people who are willing to play the same game over and over and over again, this is a good choice for that, because it's got a lot of replayability. Every game feels new, and every game is equally as competitive. I ended up caving and purchasing the Marine expansion, so I'm looking forward to playing that with this as well. And that is Arc Nova. Okay, so my next game falls under the category of an oldie but a goodie. I played this all growing up, but there's recently, in the past year or so, been a new publication by Renegade Game Studios, and that game has a lot of lid lift is what it is. Okay, anyway, that game is Acquire, a game designed by Sid Saxon and produced by, again, Renegade Game Studios. So like I said, I grew up on an older version of this game. We had the 2008 Avalon Hill Hasbro production of this game, and it had like a blackboard and a bunch of little gray chips that you could put on for your tile placement. And my mom still owns that copy. She wouldn't let us have it, so we ended up caving and buying this edition of it. So this game has plastic tiles and 3D hotels. This is a tile placement stock management game where you are drafting tiles, putting them on the board strategically, and then you're placing these so I think they're called businesses in the base game. In the game that we had, they were hotels. So if you hear me say hotels over and over again, that's why. It's because I'm used to playing the hotels version. So you're going to put these buildings on top of the board after you have a certain amount of tiles out. And throughout the game, it's an area control where maybe if you merge with another company, someone else might take control of all the stocks, or someone else might buy up all the stocks that you wanted, or things along those lines, so that when the game is over and there's a massive amount of businesses on the board, some of them will score higher, some of them won't, and maybe even though you built up one of the businesses, you might not score anything for it because someone else might have scored. This has been a really fun game for us to play growing up. I have a lot of memories of getting into fights because my mom maybe merged a hotel that I was trying so hard to not merge, or my siblings might have placed a tile that I really didn't want them to place. All affectionate meanness at the same time. The game itself allows for a lot of player interaction, so if you're looking for something that can maybe bring a little more engagement into your game night, this would be a fun one. There is a ton of replayability, and I'll say too that the components in this version of the game are much higher quality than the one that I had, the 2008, growing up. That one had these wooden chips, and I really like that with this game, if I bump it by accident, I'm not gonna like destroy half my board and have to fiddle and put everything back on. This one, it has like little raised beds that you can place the tiles on, and I really like that as well. It is on the lighter end of medium weight games, and I gave this game 4 stars. Now my reasoning for giving it 4 stars is that even though it is a really fun game, we have so many other games that this one rarely hits the table, if at all. We have a tendency to want to pick other games before it. That being said, it's still a really enjoyable game, and if you're looking for a game for someone who's maybe more business oriented, this is a fantastic choice for them. It's very fun to have your stocks that you're buying and businesses that you're placing. Overall, it's a really enjoyable game. Another question to my subscribers, because I know I like posing those to you. My mom wanted to know if anyone has an STL file to make an insert for the 2008 edition of the game. I can find inserts for this one. I can't find any for the 2008 edition. If anyone knows, hit me up, let me know, put it in the comments so I can get that from my mom, because she's getting really frustrated with having to put hers away all the time. Anyway, that's all sidebar. And this is Acquire. Highly recommend. So you might see throughout this video, I kind of have a theme going of Renegade games that I don't know why, it's just these are the games that I picked for this video. But we're gonna go ahead and go into my next game, which is a little card game, well not little card game, a little card game called Arboretum by Dan Cassar and published by Renegade Game Studio. So the 2 words I would use to describe this game best would be fast and mean. This is a really, really mean little game for as pretty of a box as it is. It is deceptive. Don't let it deceive you. This is a vicious game. So in this game, you are filling out your arboretum by placing ideally matching trees in strategic places, ranking in ascending order to try to gain points. It is a fast little game. And it, in addition, is a very thinky game as you're trying to place your cards down and people are drafting out of your discard pile. The entire game, you're kind of trying to keep an eye on what they're picking up, what you're picking up, and keeping tabs on what's on the board. What do you want to keep in your hand to score points for at the end of the game? What do you want to keep in your hand to keep your opponent from scoring points for in the game? And there's a lot of thought to it for such a speedy little game. I have played similar games to this before in the place the cards in ascending order, matching colors kind of theme. However, I've never played a game that was quite so cutthroat when it comes to games like this. It is vicious. Very vicious. It is mean. I can't say it enough. It is a hit or miss game. Either people love it or people hate it, and there is no in between. And I will say, I do not fall into the category of people that love it. I don't hate, well, my mom liked it a lot more than I did. I just have a tendency to, I feel like as you're building up the game, you just want to keep going. You want to keep adding your cards down. You want to keep placing things, and it feels like it's just over a little too fast. However, it is a really enjoyable game for a lot of people. Again, if you are a deeply competitive person who's interested in speedier games that have an element of meanness to them, pick this one. It is the game for you. At the same time, though, the components in this game are just gorgeous. The trees look beautiful. I love this cover. This is what sold me initially when I went into the board game store. It caught my eye. I asked the guy about it. He said it's a great game. He said his wife hates it. And I thought, well, maybe I will like it. And I am on the other side of that train. I gave this game 2 stars. I would give it 1, but the artwork gives it 2. My mom gave it a higher score. I'll give that to you, okay? So it's not the worst game. It's not a bad game. It's just not for me. And that is Arboretum by Renegade Games Studio. So this next game is cute. It has a bit of a comical element to it. And the next game is Bargain Quest by Jonathan Ying and produced by Renegade Games Studios. So in this game, you are a shopkeeper selling various goods to the heroes that make their way into the towns. As the heroes battle monsters, they gain prestige and they gain money from it, and then they bring all of that money back to you when they need to battle a second monster that comes into town, or a third monster. So you are raking in the money, trying to attract these heroes as you place items in the window or add storage to your shop so that you can offer the heroes more items. It's kind of got a little bit of a comedy element to it. I love the art style. It's very cartoony and cute and artistic. The shops that you put out are so charming, and I love that you kind of get to be this side character in a hero's quest where you're seeing the hero come into your town, the hero is shopping from you, and then sometimes the heroes don't come back. Sometimes they do. And you get to be the character that rakes in the dough while they go off on their sometimes foolish, mostly brave quests to try to defeat the monsters that are plaguing the town. The iconography on the game is fairly easy to pick up on, and it's a pretty good game for people who are just starting to get into medium weight games. It plays very nicely for those who are interested in more the adventure fantasy style, and it is fairly easy to learn. I wouldn't say that it's a light game, but it's also not totally a medium game. It's on the lighter end of medium. And did I mention that there are expansions? Like a plethora of them? I think there are 8 expansions in total to this game. It has cards in it, so I've got some really bad lid lift going, and that is bugging me, so I'm going to try not to be too fiddly with it. So there are 8 different expansions to this game, which allows for a lot more gameplay, a lot more fun. I'm always a proponent for getting expansions. I can't say that I've gotten any for this one yet, just because we haven't played it as much. I usually like to play it a few times before we start buying expansions. So I gave this game 4.5 stars out of 5. My husband and I really enjoyed playing it. My mom, not so much. But we've played it a few times. We have yet to bring it out with anyone other than my mom, so I'd be interested to see how well it goes over once we've added more people. But overall, it's a really fantastic game, and that is Bargain Quest. Okay, so my next game is a very beautiful game. It's one that we have had for a while. Only recently did we just get it out with a bigger group though, and that's been kind of fun to experience. And that game is Canvas by Jeff Chin and Andrew Nerger, published by Road to Infamy Games. So I know you can't see it on the front. It doesn't really have the name on it. That's because they actually built this so that you could hang it on a wall and it could be a piece of art. I haven't done that just because I don't really have a space for it, but I think it's a really pretty game overall. It's very beautiful. The components inside of it are just gorgeous. So in this game, you are an artist with 3 base canvases seeking to finish out your masterpieces. There is a tableau placed out in front of you where you place these cute little palace tokens and you walk them up the board in order to pick the card that you want to add into your canvas, and then you slide the rest of the cards over. So each of the transparent cards has various painted images on top of them that you slide into the sleeve with your main canvas card. And they have little markings on the bottom that at the end, when your canvas has 3 transparent cards slid on top of it, you score whatever's visible according to the cards that you have placed out over the top of the board and what the objectives say on those. So one thing I have to say about this game is it is absolutely stunning. It's a beautiful game, and I love the element of being able to build your own masterpieces. I think that the little nicknames that you can get once they're complete are really fun to do as well. The mechanism of the layered cards really draws me in. It's something kind of unique. I haven't really seen that in a lot of games. However, I will say that the actual gameplay of this game is almost identical to that of Century Golem Edition, which came out back in 2017, so that one predated this game. It's just the main mechanic of the card drafting that's really identical, and the walking your tokens up to get that card. Aside from that, Century Golem Edition is a little bit more of a deck builder, and your achievements are different, where you're trying to buy cards off the top, as opposed to in this one you're trying to reach those little achievements that are at the bottom of your card. I own the deluxe version of this game, so I have the wooden chips that come with it, and they are so worth it. The little cardboard chips, a few of them that came for me had a little like dents in them. Other than that, they're really high quality. I really like the style that the artist selected to go with for this game. There are also 2 additional expansions and then 1 mini expansion to the game. There's the Reflections expansion and the Finishing Touches expansion, neither of which I own quite yet. I hesitate to, just because we have Century Golem Edition and I have all the expansions to that one, and the gameplay is so similar that it almost feels the same sometimes. The one contention I have, like the major contention, is that it comes with a fabric board and not a neoprene board, and the fabric board can get some wrinkles and waves in it a little bit, so when you're trying to walk your tokens up, if the card is tilted a little bit, the tokens will slide off, and that can get kind of obnoxious. Outside of that, though, it's a really fun game. The mechanism is great. The gameplay is really fun. It's very easy to learn. We've played it, like I said, with a group of people, and we played it with younger kids as well, and it's pretty easy to pick up on for them. And overall, I gave this game 3.5 stars only because it is on the lighter side, and I kind of find that the more you play games, especially if you start to play the heavier games, if you play a really heavy game and then you go back to a light game, it's kind of hard to play the light game. It's hard to get really into it. So that's just a personal preference thing. That's not really speaking to the game itself. The game itself is really enjoyable, kind of on the lighter end of the medium weight game. Actually, I would put it right smack in the middle between a light game and a medium weight game. I wouldn't put it on the medium. I wouldn't put it on the light spectrum. But that is Canvas. All right, and that has been Board Game Bites today, so that was 5 mini reviews. I hope you really enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe and to ring that bell to get the alerts when we upload new content. Click here to see our latest video, and click here to be taken to our channel. I really hope you enjoyed what you saw today, and I hope to see you again here in the After Evenfall community. Thanks again.